Scalp inflammation, seborrheic dermatitis, gut-related issues, food sensitivities, on top of androgenetic alopecia, can greatly impact hair loss treatment and make it less effective. And usually one may have one of those issues going on besides androgenetic alopecia. But today I have an interview with a guy who was suffering all of them, and he was also taking finasteride, he was taking dutasteride, and he was applying minoxidil, but still his hair was shedding. So today we're going to talk about his results, what he was able to achieve by following a rapid rehab program.
So I joined the program when I was 24 years old, but the underlying problems that I had that Alex just mentioned, I've been facing since I was 20. So for about 4 years before I started the program with Alex, I was battling severe seborrheic dermatitis, a lot of severe burning sensations on the scalp, and a lot of hair loss because of those issues, and a lot of gut issues that were very underlying. So it wasn't until January or February of 2025 when I started the program with Alex, and then everything changed.
Right. And how was your treatment back then, before you joined the program? Could you tell a bit more about that?
Yeah, so before the program, all I was using were pretty much standard shampoos. I was trying to see other um, trichologists, and they would only suggest to me about DHT blocking shampoos. So I would use DHT blocking shampoos. Like there was this brand from Advanced Trichology that I was using, and that was a fine shampoo. Like it was good, but it was not helping with the sebum buildup that I was still facing, and it wouldn't really remove all of it, and nothing really was removing all of it. And then I also used a shampoo that was the sebum regulating shampoo, which was very efficient. But at the same time, the underlying issues were still present, so it would just keep reproducing over time, and it was not something that was just stopping. And so it was a temporary fix, but nothing that was solving it. And I also used a sebum regulating mask, which helped to kind of exfoliate the scalp, which again was temporary. Everything was not like a real solution.
When you first noticed the hair loss, was those online problems occurring right away, or did it happen over time? Do you remember like a timeline?
Yeah, yeah. So I actually originally started to first notice that my hair was falling in 2017. So now, as of this recording, yeah, almost 9 years ago. And at that time, I did not have the seborrheic dermatitis issue, but I did have what I believe was a lot of stress induced and medication side effects for my hair loss. And then when this started, those seborrheic dermatitis, I had that hair loss for about 4 years, just like regular hair loss due to stress and medication hair loss. And then the seborrheic dermatitis really started, to my knowledge, in 2021. And at that time, I had improved with my hair actually before that had began. I had started finasteride, and I had started oral minoxidil. And so I was taking those plus topical minoxidil. So I've been using topical minoxidil for about a year, and the finasteride and oral minoxidil for about 5 or 6 months. And then I noticed the seborrheic dermatitis began. And so then my hair loss started to repeat and started to get worse quite quickly because of that. And the finasteride wasn't helping to prevent it because I had these underlying issues, both topical with the sebum buildup and internal with my gut issues.
Right. On what time did you change to the dutasteride? Like, was it around that same time that you noticed that the finasteride and oral?
Yeah, I stayed on finasteride for 2 years. So I was April 2021 to April 2023. And I was going through the seborrheic dermatitis. I went through a full year and a half of the seborrheic dermatitis. It started in September 2021. And so from September 2021 to April 2023, I was still on finasteride. And then I switched to dutasteride because that was what was suggested by the doctor I was seeing at the time. And so then I was on dutasteride. I was still on oral minoxidil. My oral minoxidil dosage, I should say, was extremely low. It was 0.25 milligrams because zero point 0.5 affected my heart rate and I had side effects. So I couldn't even, I know some dosage for some minoxidil is even 1 milligram. So there was no way I could take that. So I stuck with 0.25, and then I was on Dutasteride 3 times a week. And I did that from April 2023 to November 2023. So about 6 months or so there. But my hair loss was just continuing at a very rapid rate. And by the end of that year, I had a lot of loss where you could see my scalp quite visibly, due to, again, how much sebum was clogging up my follicles.
Right. And when you started with, for example, medications as finasteride and later on dutasteride, you did notice any difference in your sebum in terms of oil pooling that was according?
Yeah, no, there was no difference at all. It just continued, and it seemed like it was just getting worse. And I noted the interesting thing that I would notice though is that each September, it would always come around in September that I would notice that is when the sebum would get worse, or there would be like a big flare up in the sebum production on my scalp, and then I would have an increased amount of hair loss. And then maybe around the springtime of the following year, maybe the summertime, it would slightly temper down and there would be a little bit less shedding, but then it would pick back up again in the fall. So it was a repeat, it was a cycle for 3 years until I
Mhm.
finally started the program.
Right. And now in September of the year, like how was your scalp now this year?
Yeah, this year, this September, and this winter season, this has been the first season in 4 years that I have had no sebum or very, very, very minor, and no burning, absolutely no burning sensation on my scalp for the first time in 3 years, which is phenomenal. It's a major relief to me and my mental health and my physical health. I just feel calmer because before with the burning, my head literally felt like it was on fire. And I thought that this sensation, every doctor that I would go and say this to, they didn't know what it was. They thought that this was a psychological issue. They thought that this was something from medications. They thought that maybe it was a specific physiological condition of the scalp, but they didn't actually know that it was what I was saying all along, which was the amount of sebum that was producing and the oil. It was just a very bad environment for my scalp, and it was just creating that burning sensation. And so it really wasn't until the program and what I did, for both internally and topically, that it went away. And this has been the first year that I'm happy to say I've not had it.
Right, I see. And just to ask you for clarification, like you did have a androgenetic alopecia history in family history as well, right?
Yes, I do have a big energetic alopecia history in my family. My dad is pretty much all bald on the top, just has like the front hair line and then the sides and back. But and that started when he was 30. Like he had a bald spot when he turned 30, but I started losing my hair when I was 16, so it started much earlier. And then yes, both my grandfathers, one of them is completely bald on top, just the sides. But then the one on my dad's side actually has quite a good amount of hair. I mean, he's 84 now, but he does have a big bald spot now, but still has like a big, good full front hairline and everything. So it is in my family history for sure. And even my sibling is experiencing some hair loss as well. But I do have some good hair genetics still. Like my dad's older brother, was able to keep his hair like without any signs of hair loss all the way into his early 50s, and now only now in his 50s does he have a bald spot.
Right, I see. Yes. Yeah, no, again, like you did have initially you did have results from finasteride, right? So that means that it was helping you to address one specific angle of the problem, which was
That's
androgenetic alopecia.
correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's correct. Like I did definitely, from about April to, I would say, August or September of 2021, so about 4 months, I did have a good improvement in my hair. I had a good regrowth that happened with my hairline, especially. Like just in that period of 4 or 5 months, I noticed that my hairline improved very quickly from both the finasteride and oral minoxidil. But then, yes, it was a big downset once the seborrheic dermatitis started in that September very quickly.
Right, I see. Yes, so I have shown a couple of your before pictures here on the screen.
Yeah.
From and those pictures are from when was those pictures taken?
This one, by the looks of it, was probably 2024. That was 2024 before I
Mm,
started the program.
right.
That was when it was at its worst, and I would have hair, as shown in this picture, I would have hairs that would literally be buried underneath sebum, like they wouldn't even, like it's all curled up. They wouldn't even be
Mm,
able to come out and grow straight. And every trichologist I would see, they would recognize that it's a problem, but they really wouldn't know how to solve it,
right.
and they didn't think it was an issue to my hairs, which was always shocking me. I'm like, this is clearly an issue to my hair. It's clearly an issue for why I'm losing. And but this was like ongoing. It was not something that was really ever stopping with any of the treatments and shampoos that I was using.
Right. So those shampoos, they kind of help you to relieve a bit of the problem, but it never was kind of solution, never was
Yes.
complete.
Yes, like it would maybe, like after one or two washes, it would remove quite a, like maybe 70% of the sebum, but that 30% would still be there. But then by the very next day, it would all come back. Like it
Right.
would all come back. It would all clog up the follicles again. And what I kept saying about this is, like, when you see that in the pictures, it looks like the hairs are literally struggling to like breathe. They're struggling to, absorb all the nutrients that they need to be healthy and strong and grow thick. And so that's what I felt like. Like it didn't matter how much my diet was good or how many hair loss medications I was taking, nothing was going to help as long as the sebum was still there.
Let's see. I will show also now your pictures that you have shared with me, how things are now.
Yeah, I'm totally okay with you showing like my hairline pictures too for people, and the top of my head. I think that would be helpful too.
So this is a picture that you actually shared with me 24 hours after you had a hair wash. So it's not a.
Yes.
Could you tell about a bit more about this picture here?
Yeah, so this is now. This is what my scalp looks like now, and it's very shockingly clean. Like it's, as you can see, there's maybe one speck of sebum that you can see at the very top there, but that's it. Even the oil pooling, thankfully, has reduced quite a bit. That was a lot of difficult times where it was just like the oil was still continuing and my scalp would look quite oily. And that was probably throughout the majority of 2025. Like the sebum stopped throughout the program in the first 3 or 4 months. By April of 2025, I noticed like the sebum was almost gone, and so then it was just trying to manage the oil pooling, which is a something that is a continuous thing that I have to keep doing, of course. And it is something that has resulted in a very clean and healthy scalp. And now, as you can see, there's no hairs being trapped. The hairs are able to grow and stick out properly out of the scalp. The scalp looks clean. There's a nice shine to it, a healthy shine. And it looks like a good environment for hair to be able to grow thick and healthy.
Yes, no, exactly. Like it's great how much change you have been able to make.
Yes.
I also want to show the pictures that you shared with me that you had taken with trichologist before and after.
Oh, sure. Yeah, yeah, sure.
So those are pictures that you shared with me that you had got from trichologist. Could you tell a bit more about those one?
Yes. So I did this trichoscope test with a local trichologist that I have here in my city, and I first saw them in December of 2024, as the picture on the left says. And so they took the trichoscope microscope and took some very close up pictures of my scalp condition. And as you can see, there was quite a bit of redness on the scalp. I believe this appears to be the back of my head from the way that the hairs are in the direction. It's not the top, so I think it's the back. But there was quite a bit of redness, and this is where I was having a lot of burning. I was having a lot of burning, a lot of shedding in the back of the head, like in the nape of the neck area. And this was an area that was very much affecting me. There's not a lot of sebum buildup in this particular photo in that particular area, but it just goes to show like that redness didn't look very good. And comparing that to the right picture, which was taken in the third week of September of 2025, so about 9 months difference. And you can see that now this is definitely the, I think, the top of the scalp by the direction of the hairs, the way that they're going in. But you can see that the condition of my scalp is very clean, and there's no redness at all. It's like very like pale and healthy white again. And so that's definitely a good sign that the scalp health is good, and that I improved with the burning sensation that I was going through as well before, because there was no burning at the time that that picture was taken.
Right. On this picture here, could you tell a bit more
Yes,
about it?
so this is these pictures are just taken with a standard camera, but through their computer analysis that they have, they're able to identify the zones and classes of hair thinning. And so, according to this picture, you can see that when they've parted my hair, that it corresponds into the class 4 advanced thinning area of 61 to 75% hair loss. And again, this was taken in December of 2024, and comparing that to the recent one in September of 2025, it has now gone up to, or I guess I should say down, yeah, gone down
Mhm.
to a class 3, which is
Oh,
great. It's gone down, it's not gone up. So now it's a 41 to 60% hair loss according to the scan that they did. So it's definitely an improvement and going in a good direction with all the things that I've done.
all right. So those are pictures that you shared with me as well. Could you tell a bit more about context of them?
Yes. So this is the right side of my side of the head, and I this is an area that I started experiencing hair loss back in 2020, like severely, like where you can see so much scalp, and this was something that was very, very hard to cover, especially if the hair was short. But even when the hair was long, it could split, and then some of the scalp could be visible. And my hair here would just end up like it felt like it was breaking off like leaves, like in the fall. Like it would just like snap off of my hair, and just it would be quite a bit, like in my fingers. Um, Almost any time in the day it would be falling, and so it got to a point where it was just very visible. And I didn't know what type of hair loss this was, because it's not following really the male pattern, which is pretty much the temples or the top of the head. This was the sides and about the sideburn. So, and no one in my family has hair loss like this. So this was very unusual. And I didn't have burning in this spot. I should specify that. But it was something that when the seborrheic dermatitis did begin, that was an area that definitely did get some build up there.
Mm. Right. Let's see. And those are pictures of that you shared with me as well.
Yes, so this is a collage from when I began the program with Alex. I started the program in February of 2025. So from March all the way till September, so about 6 months, you can see that there was improvement in the top hair loss. It's very minimal from the photos that you can see, but there was improvement, especially in the hair texture, and there was regrowth. I mean, this loss was like 2 or 3 years that I was trying to regrow. So of course it will take time
Right.
for the hairs to come back. They're not gone, but it's just taking time for them to come back. But there's definitely improvement that you can see from when I began to September of 2025.
Right. Let's see. On this picture.
This is the nape of the neck area. So this right side of the neck there, that is where the burning actually began back in December of 2022. I first began experiencing severe burning in the nape of the neck area, accompanied by a lot of hair loss there. And so this area now I'm trying to achieve good amount of regrowth. It's not been very fast. It's been very slow, but I'm hoping that through time it continues to improve. But yes, this is definitely an area that now there's no burning. Now there's like almost no sebum. I don't think I've seen sebum there in a long time. And so this was again an area that needed a lot of improvement, and it finally got that improvement.
Hmm. Right. Here's the other one.
Yeah, so this is still the right side, and as you can see, the hairs are quite thin. They are very thin, so this is definitely an area that is a work in progress, and it's something that I have tried to do a lot of different things with, from using the shampoos there to I apply minoxidil in this area every night. I've even done some microneedling there. Even when I've gone for sessions for like professional microneedling where they do microneedling and PRP, I get that injected in those spots too. So I'm definitely making sure that this is an area that's being targeted, but it's definitely something that is still needing improvement. Yeah.
On those pictures?
And then this is above the ear. This is above the ear on the right side of my head. So again, like the same pattern that I was experiencing loss right above the sideburn, it extends all the way to the back behind or on top of the ear. And this again was something that started back in 2020. And so it was very long that I was experiencing this loss. And the only reason why it may not look as bad as some might assume, well, like, oh, if it was started in 2020, maybe it should be worse because it's like 4 or 5 years. But I think the reason why it doesn't look as drastic is because I was on treatments. I was on finasteride, I was on oral minoxidil, then dutasteride, and I apply topical minoxidil every night. So there's always been something there that's been helping to maintain that hair or promote some form of regrowth, which is it still, of course, is an open area due to the underlying issues that I had. But now, of course, through the treatments that I've done, it's definitely filled up a lot more.
Right. Here's the other one with the sides.
Yeah, so this is the left side, same thing issue as the right side. This side was slightly less thinning. I mean, this very much thinning on this side, but just ever so slightly less. And as you can see, it's right up above the ear again. But you can even see in this picture a little bit of the sideburn loss too that I was experiencing because my sideburns were greatly affected. As you can see, they're not full. They look quite, split and uneven where they should be quite full. You can see the hairline going up from my facial hair all the way to the sideburn. And the hair is not there. It's just not full. And that's from a lot of loss that I incurred for about 4 years through all the seborrheic dermatitis. And this is an area still to this day that is still a work in progress. But through the underlying issues being recovered, it has actually had a good amount of regrowth that has happened. And due to the sebum being less, it's definitely thicker.
Right. All right. And this is top of your scalp.
This is the top of the scalp. I'm not. Oh, this was a recent picture. Yes, this was just a couple days ago. So yes, this was just a couple days ago. Now in January of 2026. So as you can see, this is fully combed. My hair is fully combed here, whereas in the previous collage it was open on purpose. But here it's definitely like this is what it looks like fully combed, and this is pretty much the area that's visible here is the area that is the most. Area that is visible, I guess, that still needs to be, that's still something that I'm working on to this day. And so it's very full. As you can see, the hair itself, there's a lot of regrowth that's happened. The hair looks very healthy. It looks slightly thin on the top, little wispy there, but I mean, the hair itself is very healthy. There's very thick and full and luscious, and that's all because of the health of my scalp and the fact that my hairs aren't starving of the nutrients that they need, and they're not being depraved from the sebum holding them down or completely blocking them from growing. This is the result of a very healthy scalp that also doesn't have any burning, because when I had burning, it was like the scalp visibility was horrible. Um, you could just see like lots and lots of visible scalp, and it was just dreadful. I just remembered I have a very good picture that I'll send you right now of what my scalp was like um, at its worst here.
Yeah. So can you tell about this picture?
Yeah, so this is when my hair loss was at its absolute worst. This is the most visible my scalp really ever was, and this was June of 2024. So this now was I was into 3 years of the seborrheic dermatitis. So I've had 3 years of it ongoing. It was an ongoing issue. The burning throughout all of 2024 was where it was really the worst on the top of my scalp. And so this is a result of severe burning, a lot of the clogged follicles, which we saw in the microscopic photos, that's what it really does look like on the surface. It's all very clogged, very oily, full of sebum. And so there's not a lot of good hair regrowth activity happening here. And I was still using minoxidil here. At the time, I was not using a DHT blocker. I was not on dutasteride, I was not on finasteride, and I was not on oral minoxidil. So that may have been a factor as well due to my androgenic alopecia um, genetics. So that was probably something that was probably happening too, where I just wasn't blocking the DHT. My diet was good, but I didn't know what to do. Like I didn't know all the things I shouldn't have, which I only found out through Alex that was affecting my scalp because there were a lot of things that I was having that was actually contributing to my burning sensation and contributing to my scalp condition. And so I wasn't aware, I wasn't like knowledgeable about it at all. And every doctor that I was seeing about it, again, didn't know what was going on. They honestly just kept thinking that this is androgenetic alopecia and it's just very severe. They didn't think that, it was very much recoverable. They even started talking to me about transplants and everything. And it was like, they just didn't feel like they knew what the problem was. And I always knew that there was something much bigger that was the reason for this. And it was all because of the sebum and burning that I was experiencing.
All right. Well, here's the other one that you
Here's
shared.
another one. So this is before that picture was taken, about 6 months before, or 7 months before, because this was November of 2023. So again, at this point, I've gone through about 3 fall seasons or 3 years of seborrheic dermatitis, and so as you can see, the hair looks very thin. It looks very weak. It's stretched out from all the way from the front of my hairline all the way to the back to the midpoint of the scalp. And so this is definitely an area that just doesn't look full. A lot of scalp is visible. And I was very depressed at this time. I was like, I didn't know how to cover it. I didn't know how to comb my hair. It was like anything I was doing, it just felt like I was hopeless, and I was very, very down about that.
Sure. At this point, did you block DHT or was it without DHT blocker as well?
At this point, yes, I was still doing. At this point, this was actually the month I had discontinued the dutasteride and oral minoxidil. So all previously, I was still on oral minoxidil for 2.5 years. I was on finasteride before, and then I switched to dutasteride. Like the switch of finasteride to dutasteride was immediate. There was no gap. So I was on dutasteride 3 times a week for about 6 months. Six
Sure.
months, and this was still the result. So that was quite shocking to me, and that's why I was thinking that those medications weren't working.
Yeah, right. This is other one.
This is another point of view from the very front. As you can see, very, very thin, wispy hair. It wasn't like stylable, wasn't combable. And this was a particularly bad day, of course, but it was very hard to cover this as a whole. And the scalp would just be very sensitive to anything. When it was burning, I would often need to apply water, or I even had this little spray that was a cooling mist spray that I would try to apply, and that helped it. But like this is what I had to do repeatedly, or I have to go wash my hair. And it was something that I just had to do very, very often. Otherwise, I was feeling like my head was on fire.
Can you tell a bit more about what is context of this one?
Yes, so this was taken October of 2025. So this was now a good, 8 or 9 months into the program. And this is the result of, again, a very, very diligent, planned program that I was very much looking and doing every single day. So I was making sure I was keeping my diet healthy. I was making sure I was avoiding all the um, ingredients that Alex told me that are problematic for my scalp. And so here, as you can see, my hair has recovered huge. Like in comparison to what the picture was in June of 2024, where it was so bad and so visible. There's a lot of regrowth that's happened. There's a lot of thick, healthy hair here. There's slightly visible. You can see there's a little area here where there's a little bit a thinner patch or very slightly visible scalp. But that was just, again, that's just an area that's just slowly recovering and slowly improving. But overall, you can see that the left side looks very thick. You can see that the front hairline looks very thick. You can even make out that the sides look thick and the back looks thick. So this is definitely the result of a lot of good hard work to achieve a good amount of regrowth and avoiding the things that were causing problems and making sure that there's no burning on the scalp. So yes, I'm very happy with this picture.
Right. And this one here that you shared with me as well.
This one here, I'm even more happier because it's even better than what it was in October 2025. This is December, so this is another 2 months after that picture. And as you can see, hair is longer, but it is definitely much fuller. It looks, in comparison to this picture from November of 2023, just 2 years before, where you could see that it was very thin, it was very wispy, you could see straight through the scalp. This I can style, this I can comb. This is very easy to manage, and that the hair looks good. It looks thick and healthy and fuller. And so you can see that I had a lot of good regrowth, and where the scalp is now very much covered, and we're to the point now where it's not as visible under the light in a photo. And you can see that my hair looks healthy. It very much looks healthy. It looks like it's getting the nutrients it needs. I do have wavy hair, which is why it looks wavy, but it looks very good and a huge improvement in comparison to the other picture.
No, it does, yeah. And again, like the thing is that in your case, you had so many underlying problems that we had to work on, right? And that was also the reason why you had kind of delayed time to see actually results and thickening.
Exactly. Yes, I had a lot of underlying results, and from, of course, not being on a DHT blocker for quite some time, to having the sebum, to the diet issues, all of it together was a big problem. And so it all was each one needed to be addressed one by one, and that's what Alex did to a very expert level. We addressed together each underlying issue and just broke it down and tried to figure out what was the best course of action for each underlying issue.
Yeah, no, awesome. And this is the results you have been able to achieve so far. What do you say to someone who is considering rapid rehab program?
Yeah, honestly, I think that this was the best decision I could have made. I mean, I really believe that I was, of course, I was scared at first because I just felt like everyone I had seen before, they all didn't know what to do. They all didn't know what was the problem with the burning, with the sebum, they thought that it was always genetic, and they didn't address all of the scalp either. They would only address the front and the top. They wouldn't address my sides or the back. And it wasn't until I came across Alex's videos where I finally saw that he was mentioning about burning scalp. He was mentioning sebum and oil, and he was mentioning about loss from not just the top, but from the sides, from the nape of the neck. And these were things that I just felt he was very much more knowledgeable. And I took a chance, and I'm very glad that I did, because without this program, I would still be looking either like how I was before or even worse. And so it wasn't until that, I put my faith and trust in Alex and what he was saying, that he has had, almost, I think, 20 years of his own experience with himself with this, along with other clients, that I believe that he could help me, because he's addressing the issues that I was having where no one else was. And so I'm so happy that Alex is knowledgeable with the issues that I was having, to a degree that I'm truly very amazed by. And I'm so glad that I did this. And I think that anyone would benefit greatly from either doing the workbook program or doing one-on-one with Alex, because he is very kind and very thoughtful and wants the best result for you. He really, really does. And he puts a lot of effort into putting in the best plan each month for you, and whether it's topicals, internal supplements, your diet, everything is very thoroughly looked at and organized. And I think that everything that I've done through all those categories has been very beneficial. I think that each one that I needed to do really helped me in their own ways, whether it was a topical mask to help with the oil pooling, whether it was the supplements to give me more vitamins or nutrients, whether it was removing certain ingredients from my diet that were contributing to hair loss, things that I would never have looked at because I didn't know, because they're not your typical ingredients that you look at until you really realize that, okay, this is contributing to my issues. And they can be things in sauces or certain meats, like things that aren't very fresh. So it wasn't until that Alex told me all this that I really learned.
Yes, no, that's great, and those also results speak for themselves, right? Like your results is amazing compared to what things were before. So,
Absolutely, they're tremendous, and I can't be more grateful than what I am. And honestly, I just look forward to, now that I have all the knowledge. That's the other big thing, I think, is that now that when you learn all the things that Alex teaches, you really do remember that, and you're able to use that every day and remember the things that you should avoid. And the best thing too is that I noticed with Alex is that in comparison to other trichologists that I saw, they would tell me that I would just need to stay off of something for my whole life, or that I can't ever do a certain thing because it will create more sebum, or there would be certain foods that I just had to completely avoid. Where Alex, he would make sure that we need to really fix the gut. We need to fix the issues that are happening, whether it was leaky gut, whether it was, which was another issue that I had, or anything that was on topical. We needed to first address that. First, let's stay away from what is causing that, and then many months down the road, let's then slowly reintroduce it. He's never said like you can never have something again, or it's just something that we need to be cautious about, and just be aware that, because I am susceptible to certain conditions for my hair loss, I just need to be more aware of certain things that may worsen it.
yeah, no, that's correct. Yeah, like again, you have been following plan. You have done things that you need to do in terms of the program and action items, and you have no results. So thanks for this interview. I'm very happy what you have been able to achieve, and I look forward to continue to see more progress from you. So
Absolutely. I really much look forward to seeing more progress as well. And I can't thank you enough, Alex. So thank you. And I hope anyone else really considers joining your program as well.
thank you. Awesome.
Thank you.